You're listening to the Confident Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Gavin, former professional photographer turned professional encourager. I'm an intuitive life and business mentor focused on strengthening courage and confidence for heart-centered creatives. These heart-centered creatives desire to make an impact and an income through sharing their heart with the world. This podcast is dedicated to helping us creatives activate more courage within ourselves so we can experience more memories, achieve more milestones, and make more money. In addition to empowering stories, this show will also include practical, actionable strategies from thought leaders, influencers, impact makers, and my own personal experience. If you are passionate about the areas of intentionally living, prioritizing passion, choosing courage, as well as some soulful business strategy, spirituality, and some self-mastery, you, my friend, are in the right place. You ready to play? Hey friends, here's another intermission, supplement for the soul, and this one is big on my heart. You know, I often talk a lot about success with my clients and with my community because, we are so conditioned to live in a world where, that's sort of the bar, right? Like, what's your version of success and how much money do you have in the bank and, what are your investments doing and all the things, right? And I think, the reason why I'm so passionate about opening this conversation is because I think we've missed the mark. I think success has become just another word for what is your money or wealth status. And that couldn't be further from the truth for my heart. For me, it's like, how are you being a good human? How are you showing up in the world? How are you connecting and making relationships and serving and leading and all the things that matter? I often think about when there's some sort of tragedy or there's some sort of life-altering event, we often get this moment of clarity, right? You hear things like, oh, I have such a shift in my perspective and I know what's really important now and it's not all the little things and don't sweat the small stuff and all of that stuff. But inevitably, those thoughts and those experiences, generally speaking, don't have a lasting effect. Unless it's a really traumatic event, and I use that, with some caution, but unless it's a real life-altering event that actually happened to you, oftentimes things settle down, and because we are habitual creatures, we fall back into the habits and the patterns of thought that are routine for us. And most times that's getting frustrated and feeling like I'm never enough, or I can't catch up, or when am I going to get out of this debt, or, how am I going to pay these bills, right? And so, especially with people that are entrepreneurs or have their own small business or any size business for that matter, I think this conversation around what is success is a really important thing. This is one of the reasons why I lead my clients through an exercise where we identify their North Star, right? Like, what is the thing that is under the thing? What is the thing that's really mattering in their life and in their business and why they do what they do? Because, I'm sure we've all heard every business has a why, and there's a reason for that. But I think the other piece that's missing from the equation is, how do you define success, right? Is it a number in the bank? Is it a thing that you're striving for out in the world that makes you feel successful? Or is it an inner thing? Is it an inner metric? Is it something that you measure by, the amount of connection you have and the memories that you're making and the experiences you're creating? Because for me, my true success is measured by that. I've done the thing where I thought I had to have a certain number in the bank in order to feel successful. But I've also done that when I didn't necessarily have the inner workings of safety and security. So I was making this number in the bank mean I was going to feel safe and secure when I have this number in the bank, when in reality, it wasn't the thing that was making me feel safe, right? It was the thing that I was measuring against everybody else. And everything is relative, right? So like, compared to everybody else, how do I feel about this? Do I feel successful? And I really had to do some work for myself and start to ask myself the question of, what does success mean to me? How do I define it? And that's why I really, really encourage you to sit down and think for yourself. Is it being present with your kids when they need you? Is it being able to be home with them when they're sick? Is it having a really beautiful conversation with someone that's important to you in a way that's kind and loving and generous for everybody? Is it a way of, serving your people and making an impact by helping people reach their goals? Like, is it about the number of people or is it about the number of money, right? This is something that comes up all the time. So for me, it's like, I really want to check in with myself on when I'm getting caught up in the things of, am I getting stuck in the comparison out there, or am I getting stuck in what I think that I want to achieve? Or am I really operating from my heart? And am I really operating from my truest essence of love, right? For me, success really comes down to feeling success holistically. I don't want a business that makes millions of dollars a year if it doesn't actually feel good. I don't want a relationship that, quote unquote, looks good on paper and checks all the boxes if it's a really lonely, empty place. I don't want, my kids to be super involved in all of these things that they don't actually want to be involved in because I don't know what's important to them and they don't talk to me. And, so it's really asking yourself the question of like, what is my version of success in relationships, in my health, in, contributing to the world, or doing business the way that I want to do it in a way that feels good, right? So I really just want to invite you to play with this idea and ask yourselves, what is the metric for success for yourself? Maybe there is an element of money and wealth, and I think that there should be, because we live in a world where money is needed, and that's okay. But if it's only about the money, I think maybe there's an opportunity to do a little bit more exploration, and a little bit more curiosity, and have a little bit more curiosity, because I don't know that true success actually comes from just a number, right? And I think we've seen that over and over with celebrities and people that are, very well known, where they do all the things that they quote unquote think are successful. They make movies or they have music or whatever it is, but then inside, their relationships are suffering, or they are estranged from their family, or, they have to live a life that doesn't feel in integrity for them. So I would love for you to play with this. It's something that I revisit fairly often, right? Like, what is my version of success, and am I living into that on the daily, or do I need to recalibrate that? So that is today's intermission supplement for the soul. I would love to know how it lands for you, and join us over in the community, the Confident Creative Collective, and we can continue it more. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Confident Creative podcast. I am so psyched that I got to have this conversation, and I loved sharing it with you. If you enjoyed it, I would love for you to hit subscribe to the podcast, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you could go ahead and leave a review about what your biggest takeaway was. If you want to come over and continue the conversation, join us in my free Facebook community, the Confident Creative Collective. We'll be diving into all different conversations from the podcast, as well as some additional trainings and some inside scoop. If you want to find me on the interwebs, you can find me on Instagram at Keri.Gavin, KERI.GAVIN, or you can find me on Facebook. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you, and thank you for sharing this with anyone you think it resonates with. See you on the next episode.